Hello everyone, and welcome to my Young and the Restless official 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Kane and Lily are becoming closer thanks to his new plan. Kane desires for Amanda to show Lily that he is a decent man. Will she be duped, though? Miss Hale Morgan's character, Amanda, has returned to Genoa City. She was responsible for cleaning up all of Kane's debris from Nice. Since coming home, Kane has changed his mind. He was told by Lily that he had to tell their children what had happened. He hasn't decided on his next course of action yet. He feels bad about the suffering he has given his family. He must therefore exercise caution, which entails giving Billy his AI software. Amanda was interested in Kane's ambitions, but he was more concerned with setting things right. He was curious about her friendship with Lily as well. She informed him that Lily still views her as Hillary, her cunning twin sister. The fact that Amanda works for her ex-husband is another problem. Kane wished for Amanda and Lily to become friends. He wanted to know whether Lily would entertain a reconciliation and whether he still had a shot with her. He wants Amanda to help Lily see his positive side once more. Amanda was curious about Kane's next course of action. "I have a lot going on that will keep me busy," he assured her, smiling. He was wearing a cunning expression once more. Kane hinted that he was only getting started with his intentions. What more is he planning, though? Kane may return to his evasive behavior. He will attempt to bring everyone down with him this time. Furthermore, he will never win back Lily's trust if she finds out. It's Lily, not Victor, who has the key to stopping Kane's goal. Billy Flynn's character, Kane Ashby, thinks he has all the cards. He intends to let Jason Thompson's character Billy Abbott set everything up first. Kane then intends to utilize that outcome to entice Victor Newman to a takedown. Victor is aware of Kane's schemes, or at least thinks the information his numerous henchmen have obtained is valuable. However, the current king of Genoa City, Wisconsin, and the leader of Newman Enterprises acknowledges that this revived Kane poses a real threat. Despite not supporting Victor, Lily Winters should help him achieve his objectives. Kane himself stated that if she consents to a reconciliation, he will drop his plans to dominate the globe. The new Kane Ashby is not like the old one. Longtime admirers pondered the return date of Daniel Goddard's first portrayal. When rumors circulated earlier this year that Aristotle Dumas was Kane, their expectations for the comeback of that popular performer were sated. However, TPTB at YNR determined that a different approach was required. A new actor was deemed required because the Kane character was changed. Flynn's early returns are praised by reasonable reviewers, a term that is admittedly subjective. This daytime veteran, who played Chad DiMera in the final season of Days of Our Lives, has the skills appropriate for Kane's current state. He is appealing and credible because he strikes the ideal balance between vulnerability and bluster. Victor Newman wants the threat to be eliminated quickly. Kane's artificial intelligence technology is strong if the reports turn out to be accurate. The name AI is, of course, rather misleading. The observed intelligence was produced by actual people. Those creators, not the non-human digital progeny, will always be the source of any consciousness that emerges in the future. Kane's capacity to attack any business, destroy it, and leave no trace of that heinous crime is the threat Victor recognizes. Although the term fiction may seem appropriate, those on the opposite side of the screen are aware from recent experiences that computer-based tools may accomplish things that were previously thought to be impossible. Thus, this plot is up to date and easy to follow. Bravo to the writers for creating a contemporary plot that draws inspiration from the current world. He is still loved by Lily Winters. The best defense anyone in GC has against Kane's plans and ways of carrying out his all-encompassing takeover is the subject header. Both Lily and Kane were left longing after their breakup more than 6 years ago. They were remarried in addition to being married. Additionally, they will always be a family because of their bond with the twins. The viewer will observe whether Kane's obvious feelings will compel him to decide between Lily and giving up on the scheme his late father devised. It's possible, though, that Colin Atkinson expected Kane to ride the wave until he made up with Lily and reunited with his family, and that Arabesque and the AI plan were only tools to achieve this goal. Ashby found himself standing at a crossroad in Genoa City, torn between the man he had once been and the man he desperately wanted Lily Winters to believe he could still become, and it was this conflict that fueled every decision, every whispered promise, and every glance filled with guilt and determination, though his past was riddled with schemes, betrayals, and reckless choices that had shattered the very foundation of his marriage. Kane now clung to the fragile hope that perhaps, with Amanda Sinclair's reluctant assistance, he could rebuild what he had broken, and as Amanda looked at him with those sharp, discerning eyes, the same eyes that carried echoes of Hilary, Lily's late sister who had haunted every corner of her life, it was clear that she didn't fully trust Kane's newfound resolve, yet there was something in his tone, in the way he spoke of Lily and the twins, that made her pause, that made her wonder if perhaps this man, so often dismissed as a scoundrel, was truly capable of redemption. Still, Amanda knew that her relationship with Lily was complicated, fragile, and fraught with old wounds, and stepping into Kane's tangled web meant risking what little goodwill she had begun to build with Lily, but Kane pressed her gently, insisting that she could help bridge the chasm between them, that she could remind Lily of the man who had once loved her so fiercely, of the father who had always fought for their family, of the partner who, despite his failings, had never stopped believing that she was the center of his universe. Amanda, however, could not ignore the flicker of cunning she saw in Kane's eyes, that slight upward curl of his lips that suggested he was not simply a man seeking forgiveness, but also a strategist quietly moving pieces across a chessboard, planning something larger, something that went beyond reconciliation. And when she pressed him about his next move, Kane smiled with that familiar mix of charm and danger, assuring her that he had everything under control, that he was only getting started, and though he framed it as an effort to right his wrongs, Amanda couldn't shake the feeling that Kane's ambitions stretched into darker, riskier territory, the kind that might once again pull Lily into chaos against her will. Still, Kane believed he held all the cards, and he intended to play them carefully, using Billy Abbott's involvement with his AI software as a cover, letting Billy stumble into the traps first, and then taking those results to Victor Newman, hoping to lure the Titan of Genoa City into a confrontation that could shift the balance of power forever. Yet Kane also knew that none of it mattered if he didn't have Lily by his side, because at the end of the day, all the schemes, all the clever manipulations, all the power plays in the world couldn't replace the steady, grounding love that Lily once offered him, and so he told Amanda that if Lily agreed to reconciliation, if she opened her heart to him once more, he would abandon his plans, give up on domination, and choose her instead, a vow that Amanda wasn't sure she could believe, but one that carried the kind of desperate sincerity that made it difficult to dismiss outright. Meanwhile, Victor Newman, ever the calculating monarch of Genoa City, was already aware of Kane's shifting ambitions, his network of informants whispering warnings of Kane's dangerous AI technology, a tool capable of dismantling empires without leaving a trace, and while some dismissed it as science fiction, Victor recognized the reality of the modern world, understood the devastating potential of such power, and knew that if Kane's obsession wasn't contained, it could destabilize everything, not just for Newman Enterprises, but for the city itself. Yet in the middle of all these high-stakes machinations was Lily, the woman whose heart remained both Kane's greatest weakness and his greatest hope, the woman who had endured his betrayals, who had grieved over his deceptions, but who had also shared with him an unshakable bond through their twins and their history, and though she had long since convinced herself that her future lay elsewhere, Kane's persistence and vulnerability were slowly chipping away at her defenses, making her question whether the man she had once loved so completely could truly change, and whether forgiving him could mean reclaiming not just a marriage, but a family restored. Still, Lily's instincts warned her not to be deceived, to remember that Kane's charm was as dangerous as it was alluring, and that trusting him again could mean opening the door to heartbreak, chaos, and manipulation. Yet as the days passed and Kane continued to present himself as a changed man, gentle with the twins, remorseful about the past, and determined to prove his worth, she found it harder to ignore the flickers of warmth that resurfaced in her heart, those echoes of love that never fully disappeared no matter how hard she tried to silence them, and this internal war between caution and longing became the true battleground of Kane's plan, for no scheme, no AI program, no alliance with Amanda could secure his redemption unless Lily herself chose to believe in him again. And while Kane moved pieces on his hidden chessboard, hinting that he was far from finished, the truth remained that Lily alone held the power to end his dangerous ambitions or to save him from himself, forcing Kane to confront the most difficult question of all. Was his desire for power greater than his love for Lily, or would he finally surrender to the truth that without her, everything else was meaningless? Ashby had always prided himself on his ability to improvise, to shift his mask depending on who stood before him, and while this survival skill had saved him countless times in the past, it now threatened to destroy the very thing he valued most, his fragile chance at redemption with Lily Winters, for though he whispered promises of change, his instincts for deception and ambition bubbled beneath the surface, threatening to erupt in ways he could no longer control, as Amanda Sinclair cautiously agreed to help him soften Lily's view. Her own doubts simmered, because she knew better than anyone how dangerous it could be to let emotions cloud judgment, and though she wanted to believe that Kane's remorse was genuine, she couldn't ignore the subtle tension in his tone whenever he spoke of Victor Newman, or the way his eyes gleamed at the mention of Billy Abbott's role in testing his AI software. A gleam that hinted at satisfaction, at triumph, at something far more calculating than mere reconciliation. Lily, on the other hand, found herself increasingly unsettled by Kane's renewed presence in her life, for while she had steeled herself against his charms and convinced herself that their marriage was nothing but a relic of the past, there was something in the way he now carried himself, measured, vulnerable, almost reverent, that made her hesitate before slamming the door completely, and this hesitation infuriated her because she knew how much damage he had caused, how many nights she had cried alone after his betrayals, how much strength it had taken to rebuild her life without him, yet those old memories of love and laughter with their twins haunted her every time she saw him, threatening to undo the careful walls she had erected around her heart. Kane, sensing this vulnerability, leaned into it with precision, bringing flowers not as grand gestures but as simple tokens, appearing at family gatherings not as a suitor but as a father, listening more than speaking, and every small act was carefully calculated to remind Lily of the man she once loved rather than the man who had broken her. Though beneath this surface of tenderness, King continued plotting with a quiet intensity, ensuring that Billy's every move with the AI project led to subtle vulnerabilities that Kane alone could exploit, and he knew that once those vulnerabilities became public, Victor would be forced to take notice, setting the stage for a confrontation that could change Genoa City's balance of power forever. Victor, of course, was no fool, and while Kane believed himself clever, Newman's patriarch had spent decades dismantling rivals who fancied themselves brilliant, and though his age might have slowed his step, his mind remained as sharp and ruthless as ever. So when whispers of Kane's AI ambitions reached his ears, Victor began assembling his own countermoves, positioning security experts and digital operatives to infiltrate Kane's growing network. Determined to dismantle his scheme before it reached maturity, yet Victor also recognized the irony that Lily herself might be the ultimate weapon against Kane, for in Victor's assessment, love was the one vulnerability no amount of technology or manipulation could shield, and if Lily stood firm against Kane, if she rejected him completely, then his plans would crumble under the weight of his desperation. But fate in Genoa City was never so simple, and as Lily struggled with her conflicted feelings, Amanda found herself increasingly entangled in the push and pull of Kane's strategy, becoming both confidant and unwitting pawn, for while she resisted the urge to see herself as Hillary, she couldn't deny that Kane treated her like a bridge to Lily, a reminder of what he had lost and what he still hoped to reclaim, and though she warned him against playing games, against hiding his true motives, Kane continued to smile with that disarming charm, insisting that he was different now, that his only desire was to make amends. But Amanda had seen too much of human nature in her work as a lawyer to believe words alone, so she watched, quietly, studying him the way one studies a chess opponent, waiting to see which move revealed his true intentions. Meanwhile, the AI program itself began to show signs of life, its algorithms designed to simulate weaknesses in business infrastructures, exposing vulnerabilities in ways that startled even Kane with their precision, and while he assured Amanda and Lily that it was nothing more than a harmless experiment, something he would walk away from if Lily asked, the reality was that Kane's obsession with completing what his late father Colin Atkinson had started gnawed at him, whispering in his ear that he was destined for greatness, that he could reshape his legacy not as a failed husband but as a visionary, and though Kane tried to silence that voice whenever Lily's eyes filled with cautious trust, it grew louder each day, threatening to drown out his better instincts. Lily, too, felt the weight of destiny pressing down on her, because she could not ignore the undeniable bond that still tied her to Kane, nor the way their children looked at them with unspoken hope, wishing for a reunion, and while she told herself that forgiving Kane would only lead to more pain, she also knew that life was too short to deny love entirely, and this conflict left her restless at night, staring at the ceiling and wondering if the universe was testing her ability to forgive or warning her not to repeat past mistakes. And as she wrestled with these questions, Kane pressed harder, finding excuses to cross her path, speaking words that blended sincerity with strategy, while Amanda hovered on the sidelines, aware that if Lily succumbed to Kane's charm, the entire balance of Genoa City could shift, not just for their family, but for Victor, for Billy, for everyone touched by Kane's dangerous AI plan, and so the stage was set for a collision of love, ambition, and power, with Kane dancing dangerously between redemption and ruin, Lily caught between her heart and her caution, Amanda struggling with her own place in the tangled web, Victor preparing his countermoves with icy precision, and Billy unknowingly carrying the weight of Kane's scheme on his shoulders. And though the outcome remained uncertain, one truth was clear: Kane's plan to win Lily back while secretly preparing to outmaneuver Victor was like playing with fire in a city already primed for explosion, and sooner rather than later, the flames would consume them all, leaving only ashes or the rare chance at rebirth. Kane's world had always thrived on contradictions, his ability to present himself as a reformed family man while secretly nursing the ambition of a power player was both his greatest strength and his most dangerous flaw, and as his plan slowly unfolded, he realized that time was running out, for Victor Newman's shadow loomed larger by the day, and Lily's patience for his half-truths was wearing thin. Amanda had already warned him that manipulating Lily's emotions while playing dangerous games with Victor was a recipe for disaster, yet Kane brushed her caution aside with that practiced smile, insisting that he knew what he was doing, that every move had been thought through. But in his private moments, when he stared at the AI data glowing across his computer screen, the doubts gnawed at him, because what if Amanda was right? What if he lost Lily forever in his quest to prove himself worthy? What if his obsession with power destroyed the very love he claimed to fight for? Lily, meanwhile, found herself unwillingly dragged deeper into his orbit, because though she told herself repeatedly that she didn't trust him, her actions betrayed her heart. She answered his late-night texts under the guise of discussing the twins, she lingered a moment too long when his hand brushed against hers, and she caught herself replaying memories of their happier days like forbidden dreams she had no business entertaining. This left her unsettled, angry at herself for wavering, angry at him for tempting her back into a world of uncertainty, and yet when Amanda gently reminded her that people could change if they truly wanted to, Lily's resolve wavered further, though she still questioned whether Amanda herself could see Kane objectively, or if the shadow of Hillary's memory made her judgment cloudy. All the while, Victor was already several steps ahead, pulling in allies from the Newman boardroom and beyond, quietly assigning his operatives to trace the threads of Kane's AI program back to its source, and though Kane believed himself clever enough to cover his tracks, Victor had seen far more sophisticated schemes crumble under his watch, and he knew it was only a matter of time before Kane overplayed his hand, giving Victor the opening he needed to strike. But what Victor didn't yet realize was that Kane's true weakness wasn't his AI project or his flawed ambition, it was Lily, for she alone held the power to make him abandon everything, and if she so much as whispered that she was willing to try again, Kane would burn his empire to the ground without hesitation. The irony was that Lily knew this too, and part of her feared that accepting him back into her life would mean inheriting his chaos once again, while rejecting him could harden his heart and push him further into darkness. And so she stood on the edge of a choice that would not only shape her family's future but also determine the fate of Victor's newest adversary, the man who claimed to want redemption but still carried the soul of a schemer. Amanda, caught between these forces, began to realize that she had become more than just Kane's ally or Lily's uneasy confidant. She was the mirror that reflected their flaws, their hopes, their insecurities, and as much as she wanted to stay neutral, her presence alone was enough to fan the flames of suspicion and longing, making her a key piece in a game she never intended to play. And though she vowed to step back, she found herself drawn in deeper, if only to make sure that Lily didn't fall victim to the same manipulations that had once defined Kane. Yet Kane's determination only grew stronger, for he believed that destiny had placed him back in Lily's life for a reason, and that no matter what obstacles stood in his way, be it Victor's looming threat, Amanda's skepticism, or Billy's unwitting involvement, he would stop at nothing to prove that his love for Lily was not just real but unshakable, even if it meant risking everything he had built. And as he stood looking out across Genoa City one evening, the skyline glittering with promises of power and ruin, Kane knew that the days ahead would test him like never before, and that the choice between love and ambition, redemption and destruction, would soon come crashing down upon him in ways even he could not control.